Hi there everyone, I'm Brittany from Quarter Acre Roots. Here we post about sustainably growing food and native plants on just a quarter-acre lot, and today we are doing a fall garden tour. So we're gonna start off in the backyard. We're gonna focus on how I'm extending our growing season because it is like November 16th or so, mid-November here in Maryland, Zone 7A. It is getting quite cold outside, but we are still growing because there are plenty of ways that you can buy yourself a month on the front end or the back end of the growing season, especially here in Zone 7. So we're gonna come here out of our little greenhouse and show you the two raised beds that we have closest to the house right now. So these two beds are uncovered. They are still growing our fall crops beautifully. I have a bunch of lettuce up here. I think it's Paris Island lettuce. It is a type of romaine lettuce that is now pretty much one of the only types I like to grow. The heads get so big, it is super crunchy, it is really, really delicious. There are some other random lettuce seeds in here as well because I did just kind of sprinkle some stuff down into this bed. Now we have had some super cold temperatures here lately, a couple nights down into the 20s. I was afraid the lettuce might bite the dust, but it is still kicking here. Up here, we have a bed that I'm not going to be doing much with. I've got our sugar snap peas here, which typically in the fall here, it can be a little bit more challenging to get an actual crop of sugar snap peas. We got a ton this last spring because we had a super long, colder than normal and wet spring. So we got a ton. Normally fall is going to be harder to get a pea crop here, but I try anyway because I love sugar snap peas and my daughter eats them and I had the seeds anyway. We have actually gotten quite a few already and the plants do not look like they are slowing down. So anything we get from these, I'm just going to call a bonus. Part of the reason why I grow these in here anyway is just because the peas are a nitrogen fixer in the soil, so it is a really good thing to grow for crop rotation. Speaking of a nitrogen fixing, in addition to this very large Swiss chard I have in here, I've sprinkled down a bunch of crimson clover. This is another cover crop nitrogen fixer. I probably seeded this too late, but I am getting a lot of germination and I may just throw like a little plastic cover over this bed to buy myself a little bit of extra time. We'll see what happens with these. And then on the ends of these beds here, I did end up putting two sunchoke plants in. So we really enjoyed growing our sunchokes in containers this year, but I ended up digging them out of the elevated bed we had so that I could put strawberries in there. So I moved some of our sunchokes here and I will show you guys where else I put them when we're done looking at the raised beds. This time last year, I was propagating some tiny rosemaries and tiny sages to put in this area, and they have filled out really, really beautifully this year. I love having these perennial herbs up here by the house. They are really low maintenance and they have a really lovely smell that I love incorporating into my raised bed area just because these strong smells can have some mild pest prevention properties. So I like to take any one I can when it comes to preventing pests and not having to use pesticides. Heading over here to our other raised beds, I did a video a couple weeks ago on how I am elongating our growing season using these greenhouse covers. Now, the brand Vago did send me these covers to review. I am super happy with them so far. They have a really nice zipper access. I'm actually gonna set down the camera here so I can show you guys what they look like. Okay, so like I said, it's been a couple of weeks since I put these on and set up these beds and put all the seeds in. So I've got some really good germination. All of this Swiss chard was stuff that I was already growing through the summer, and I am going to try to keep that going through the winter so I can have it go to seed next spring to harvest those seeds because I love chard. Otherwise, everything we have in here, I've got kale, I've got arugula, and I've got spinach. All of this was seeded just before I put on these covers. So I'm having some really great germination with these, and I'm hoping that it will give me enough warmth to get a harvest of these this fall because, again, this was a bit of an experiment. I seeded these pretty late in the season and they took a little while to get going, but they are doing really, really well in here with this cover on. It's a similar story with this bed over here. I think this one might have some slightly more mature crops in it. I had planted these a little bit earlier. This is chard and mostly lettuce. I think I got some kale. I sprinkled these seeds down and forgot to put labels in, so it has been a fun guessing game waiting to see what pops up in here. I am confident that over the next month I will be able to extend our season enough to get a whole another crop of this lettuce that I love after we are done pulling all of this lettuce up here. So I would say being able to grow into mid-December here in Zone 7 is a really big win. I'm a big fan of these things so far. The two beds that are covered behind the greenhouse cover beds just have these like netting insect covers on them. These can be insect covers or just a gentle frost cover. I have them covering these because of the pest issues. So if you look closely at my Brussels sprouts here, they have been getting eaten alive. I love Brussels sprouts. Even my daughter will eat Brussels sprouts. So it's a vegetable that I really want to get better at growing. We have some really great progress here with little babies on this plant, but I didn't want to have to spray these or treat them. I do probably have to come in here and hand pick some more bugs off that maybe I trapped in here when I added the cover, but they are looking really nice and I'm hoping to have something to harvest by around Christmas time. Over here is a similar story. I've got cabbages covered in this bed. Cabbages are something that I generally, in the past, have not really liked to grow just because they are so vulnerable to pests. But since I've covered them, I have noticed much, much healthier growth on these. These are early Jersey and Napa cabbages. I started all of these seeds myself, gave seeds to my mom. Hers are so much farther along than mine, so not really sure what's going on. But as long as they're looking healthy and happy, I am happy. Last up in our back bed here, I've got an assortment of random things. Quite a few dill seeds that seeded themselves from the plant that I had here, which is really nice to get some late season volunteer dill. And then these are daikon radishes, which are also referred to as driller radishes. They're very, very large. My mom grew these first. That's how I learned about growing them and how delicious they were. She made a kimchi with them last year, so I decided that I had to grow some of them as well. They're an excellent colder weather crop and they go down very, very far too, which is another reason why they're called driller radishes. Now, sometimes people will take these radishes and plant them, not even to eat them. They will plant them just because they go so far down into the soil, they won't harvest them. They will just let them rot and compost themselves in the ground over the winter to help aerate and improve that soil. I'm going to be pulling mine and eating them, but I did enjoy learning that. And over here, we've just got the Swiss chard that is still doing super duper well. This has been going all summer, just really the plant that keeps on giving. I probably planted too much of this. I have boiled and frozen so much of it to save because I'm really the only one in my family who likes to eat Swiss chard, and we've gotten a ton of it, but it really is a beautiful plant to have in the garden as well. It is hard to believe that this area was just all grass like a year and a half ago. We have already gotten so much out of this space. We had a lot of garlic that we harvested this year, so I decided to put garlic here again. I have 2 rows of garlic going down each of these sides, and then I dropped some of the crimson clover seeds I have down the middle. So if you see all of those little green sprouts, those are crimson clover cover crops. Again, I put them in pretty late, but we'll see what they do. And the garlic works out really well here because by the time the garlic is about ready to harvest in June, the sweet potatoes are already taking off. So that's a nice place to really put them here to maximize space because I can kind of sequence them when I'm growing. Over here, it's all asparagus all the time. This area was absolutely insane until last weekend when I cut down a bunch of the taller ferns because they were getting so floppy and crazy. I'm really looking forward to seeing how much asparagus we get next year because this year was only our 2nd or 3rd year. I don't know, time kind of blends together. And we got a decent amount, but the ferns this year are much, much larger than the ones last year. I am saving one of these I didn't cut down yet because this is a female plant that is producing some seeds. So I definitely need to come out here and harvest some of these seeds for our Master Gardener seed swap and just to start my own plants next year. I mentioned that I dug out all of our sunchokes from the elevated bed that I had them in. Now, it was never a long-term plan to have my sunchokes in that bed. I put them there because sunchokes spread very vigorously, so I wanted to make sure that I had them where I wanted them when I planted them. And when I first put them in the ground, I was not sure exactly where I wanted to plant them. So I've ended up taking a lot of my sunchokes that I dug up and planting them along this fence line. This has kind of been an area that I do something different with every year. I kind of want a better use for it. It gets decent sun here. I had some peppers here. I had some zinnias here last year, and I'm hoping that the sunchokes will do well here, but that it doesn't get blaring sun all day, so maybe it will slow their growth and spread a little bit. We will see about that. And what I did with the elevated bed that I dug them out of is I split all of my strawberry plants to plant in a strawberry bed in here. And the reason why I wanted to plant a strawberry bed in here is because I have a really hard time keeping the critters away from our strawberries. So this will be a nice elevated area that I can cover easily and pick and keep an eye on very easily. And on that note, I also put some of these strawberries that I split into my green stalk. So I mostly put them in every other pocket here in my green stalk, which is really, really great for growing strawberries. When they start to grow and throw out runners and propagate themselves, they will just root themselves in the next pocket over, and then you can either leave them or you can dig them up. And look at that, this one is flowering. It must be happy in there. Now, you may have seen in the background of the raised beds video that our pond area is an absolute disaster area right now. And that is because my husband decided, the pond is his forte here, he decided that he wanted to take out our hard shell liner and triple, maybe even quadruple the size of our little pond, put in a soft shell liner, add a larger water fountain, and just really make this a larger water feature. I was, of course, not opposed to this. I thought he was going to wait until the spring, but then one day he just decided he wanted to dig. So he pulled it all out. He dug this all up. I am extremely happy with it. He still has some work to do on the waterfall back there. So he has to do the finishing touches on that, but overall, I'm really, really happy with it. I've gotten some plants put in back around it, but I'm probably going to just end up leaving this whole area like kind of ugly and unmulched until the spring, when I will finish planting here and then put our paver path back in right here, because we do have an exit from the patio right there. So I need to rethink the access like right here. And then you may have also noticed too, if you've seen my previous tours, we made good on our promise to remove the invasive morning light miscanthus grasses that we had in here. We had put 6 into our yard when we first moved in. I did not know that they were a very problematic plant to put in. They're so pretty, but there are also pretty things that are not highly invasive, like the grasses that we had in here. So I committed to removing 3 of them this year, and we were going to wait until the spring to remove the other 3. However, I had some stuff I wanted to plant, and my husband decided that since he wanted to work on the pond, that this whole area would kind of be torn apart anyway. So he pulled those out. I thought it was going to be a crazy, crazy project, but he removed them all pretty quickly. And in their place, I put a couple berry bushes here. I've got some cone flowers. And then over here, I'm really, really excited about this one. Super nervous about it, making it through its first winter here. This right here, this sad little plant, is a self-fertile hardy kiwi plant. So I am very optimistic it's going to make it through its first winter. And if it does, it should start growing like a weed. We're going to put up a nice trellis that kind of like wraps all the way back here so that the beautiful vines will grow up that. Now, it should be several years before we start getting kiwi berries from a hardy kiwi plant. However, it will be a really nice screen on the back of our patio while it's growing and just producing foliage. And when it does start flowering and producing berries, I have heard that the smell is really, really amazing on the flowers. So I'm looking forward to having it up there by the patio to be a nice screen, to look lovely, and also to smell great. So definitely a lot more to come for this area next year. Oh, and one more thing that I'm very excited about. So the new pump that my husband got for the pond here, it's a much bigger pump and filter, and it has a little thing on the side here with a tube where I can take out some pond scum water to water my plants with. And that is like nature's best fertilizer. So I am very excited about that. When we emptied out the previous hard shell pond, we took 5-gallon buckets and just kept filling them up, and then I would walk them back to plants and dump it on them because I'm not going to waste that good stuff. back here behind the pond. Oh, it looks so sad right now, but it is going to look really great next year. I put in some new native plants here this year, which kind of looked like crap this year, but that is to be expected for perennials when you first put them in. I think I've got a couple bee balms here, some coneflowers. That's a false indigo baptista. And then I'm very excited about these tiny sad little twigs. This is a goji berry shrub. So I'm really excited to see how that one grows over the years. It's supposed to be kind of like a large branching shrub, so I'll probably have to put up some sort of support for it. We've got our beautiful aster here. We've got some blazing star, which just went in this year. So again, very sad and small, but will look lovely next year. And then back here starts our blueberry row and general berry area. So we've got like 19 blueberry plants now, which is crazy. This whole area just went in last fall and we finished it last spring. So it is definitely still a work in progress. I've been putting in some more shallow spreading ground cover plants between all of these bushes here. And then I've got more blueberry bushes on this side. So it doesn't look like much right now, but I promise this is going to be really beautiful one day. Over here, we've got all of our raspberry plants. These, I did not trellis this year just because they did not get too big, but next year I'm going to run a trellis up here. It's kind of like an L shape for the red raspberries here. So I will put a trellis there. We've got more blueberries along this side, more blueberries back here. And then we've got 3 gooseberry plants here, 3 different varieties, which I'm really excited about those as well. One was a propagation from a neighbor of mine across the street. I think she gave me the Brssuel gooseberry. And then I got I can't remember the name of it, Hinamaki red, I think. And then locally, I was just at this random native plant nursery and found a genie gooseberry, which I'd never heard of, but it was like $7. So I bought it and threw it in the ground. Up here, at our Master Gardener demonstration garden, we have golden raspberries, and my daughter loved them so much that I went and I ordered some online. So I've got 2 golden raspberry plants back here behind the red raspberries. And then if you watched my fall clearance haul perennial shopping, you know that I went a little crazy with my berry bushes. So I got 5 new blueberry bushes. In my defense, these were extremely cheap. These were, I can't remember, I'll have to look back at the video, but maybe like $5 each. They get very large. They're not like super dwarf varieties. So maybe sometime this fall, if I get to it, I will expand this mulched area to include all of these blueberry bushes, but that might wait until the spring. And then we started digging out around all of our fruit trees we have back here. So this one right here is a fig bush, and then we've got a persimmon right here that I started planting some things around. Back here we've got a pawpaw with some things growing around it, and then I've got some random clearance shrubs that I added in the ground. So this area is kind of like a mishmash area right now. Eventually we would like to have like all of this killed off with wood chips. The first phase of that is obviously going to be expanding for these blueberry bushes here, but then turning this all into just a large growing area and meeting it up with this mulched area here where we have mostly perennials. A lot of times when I don't know where to put something, I'll pop it back here. But things planted back here have to be safe for groundhogs, because this little hole, we've got our groundhogs. They're never going to leave our lives. If we remove them, more will come. So we have to have things back here that they do not eat. Over here, we've got 1 more pawpaw tree back there, and then we've got 2 plums. This is the more mature plum tree. This one's about as tall as I am now, so just about 6 feet tall. And then we've got a little baby. Big thanks to Stark Bros. We got one from them last year. It did not make it through the winter, and they do stand by their guarantee. They sent us another plant this year, which we planted this fall, and are looking forward to watching this one grow. So here is a zoomed out view of that whole area. Obviously lots of great space here, lots of great sunlight, so we really don't want it to go to waste with grass. It's just a work in progress, and obviously it looks a lot better when things have leaves on them, but there is so much going on back here that we are excited about for next spring. One of our big projects this year was also converting the majority of our front yard to growing space, to practical growing space from grass. So I'm going to show you guys how that's looking right now. Here on the side of the yard, I moved our maypop vine over here so it would just have more room to spread. They are very prolific and very aggressive spreaders, so I wanted to give it room to spread and climb. And then I've got 2 blackberry bushes here. I had not planned to put blackberry bushes here, but the blackberries need to be far enough away from the red raspberries, and I didn't have any more space in the front yard, as you'll see, so I popped them in right here, and it'll be nice to just pop out from the house to be able to pick blackberries from here in the future. Things have really, for the most part, been put to bed up here. The path I'm walking on right now, you can't really tell, but it is lined on either side with blackberries and then black raspberries up here. So I found some black raspberries locally, which I was really excited about. So I'm happy to have those up here. And then we just have a mix of things up here that are native, drought tolerant, things I don't really have to worry about too much. Coneflowers. I grew all of my extra produce up here this year, and I will probably throw random things that need a spot in here next year as well. Oh, and then the big thing I did put up here, I put currants up here. So this is a small red currant. You can hardly see it. It's little, it's struggling along, but it will get there. And then back here I have a black currant, and I have a second black currant plant that is coming in the mail. I'm planning on putting that back here as well so that I can access them from either of these paths. And then otherwise, everything up here is pretty much the same as it has been since we converted this area. A lot of the stuff is still looking really, really nice. The catmint looks so great late in the season. The parsley is gorgeous. I'll want to plant more of this for sure because as a biennial, this one will be going to seed next year. But it's still looking really lovely, and I love having a space where things can look really great into the end of the season, not just in the summer. And I'm hoping that as this area develops over the next few years, that we will just have more and more established plants, and it will look better and better later into each season. And I know this is such a controversial take. This is a Japanese maple here. I know people really, really love Japanese maples. I think it's pretty, but honestly, I would be lying if I said I had not been thinking about removing this and putting something else there. It just gets such great light. It's a great spot in the yard. It's a high profile spot, and the plant looked really, really bad this year. So I guess I'm still thinking about it because I know it's not a cheap plant. It was here when we moved in. I would hate to remove it just to remove it and like not have an actual plan for what to put there, but I'm definitely going to be thinking through that next year. So that is about the gist of it. Outside of the raised beds, I'm really not doing much in the yard right now. Everything's kind of been put to bed for the season, and I am just trying to get as much out of these raised beds as I can before it starts snowing. And even then, we're going to push the limits to see how much we can grow, because that is what I love doing, experimenting with different types of gardening methods and figuring out exactly how much I can grow in our quarter acre. So until my next video, happy planting.